Okay. I hope that you had nice break and nice lunch. We have a son, so I hope that you enjoyed it a little bit also outside. Now we have a next masterclass, and this one is quite interesting. You've been hearing about this artificial intelligence during these days, so please welcome Mr. Ibrahim Kushchu. Yeah.
All right.
Here you go.
Thank you. All right. How you doing? Now, please make sure that this session is very important for all your lifetime. Because whatever you do, you will come across with artificial intelligence. So whatever you learn in this session, you will make use of it in somehow. Either maybe you can be an artificial intelligence expert, or you will talk to AI people so that you can understand each other. So this session will help you. Or when you're working with AI experts, you will discuss certain issues and you will know this person is good for you or not. So you will evaluate AI systems, AI people. So this session is very, very important for you, whatever your occupation is. While talking about occupation, can I see some backgrounds? Journalists? Okay. Social scientists? Any area? Any any area, apart from the journalist, any area of social science? Economics, sociology, anthropology, communication, bravo. Engineering, any engineering degrees. Which degree? Bioengineering, that's the person I want to be in this session. Any biologists, chemists? Yes, you are. Beautiful. Okay, so this session is designed for specifically those people who are not technical. So this is a non-technical overview and intro to artificial intelligence for you, okay? Right. All right, so let's start. Can I, what's the best, what is the number for your best friend? Phone number. You don't know. It's on your mobile phone. You have extended your mind to your mobile phone, okay? So we now have an extended mind. We are not just using our own mind. We are now using extra devices to extend our mind. Could you translate good evening to Armenian? Oh, do you speak Armenian? That kills my show. All right. All right, somebody, could you, who's good in using mobile? Could somebody translate good afternoon to Armenian? Could one of you, just don't do it. Not Armenians. One non-Armenian person, could you translate using with your Google? Yeah, we can. Yeah, could you do that? Try to read it, yeah.
I can, it's great. Letters are different.
Oh, it's Cyrillic letters. Loudly. Bari Arabot, is that correct? Yes. Could you please translate the same thing to Lithuanian? Is this correct? Lavas Ritas. Could you translate this to Russian? Dobre jutro. I know that as well, so that's correct. Now you spoke 3 languages. That's beautiful, isn't it? With the help of a little bit, artificial intelligence. Not too much, but a bit of artificial intelligence. So, artificial intelligence is already in our lives. And you will be using lots of systems which use artificial intelligence in the background. And in your job as well, we will do an exercise on how to detect lies. How do you determine whether something is fake news or not. But we will look at what will be the artificial intelligence technique for it, okay? Now, I want to go all the way to the basics and start with the first, do I have to use? Okay, the next slide. Yeah, professor of technology doesn't know how to use this. All right, so, okay. So what is intelligence? Can anyone give me a definition? Each discipline has its own definition of intelligence. Can somebody give me a definition? What is intelligence? Yes?
Smart. Just again. Some smart stuff that can help make our lives better, easier.
That's good. Very good. Just one moment.
I would say it's the application of knowledge.
Application of knowledge, that's very good.
Free way of thinking.
Sorry?
Free way of thinking.
Free way of thinking. That's beautiful. One last one.
The ability to quickly adapt to new situations.
That I love. That's beautiful. Okay, I'll have yours as well. And then
I would say flexibility. So
What?
flexibility of knowledge.
Flexibility of knowledge. That's good. Alexander, may I borrow you just one moment? Okay. Could you please show me your left ear? Okay, that's intelligent. If he asks me, I will go like that. Show me your left ear, and I will go. Which one is more intelligent? You. He is more intelligent. Okay, right. So could you hold my bag and the microphone in one hand? Now, could you show me your right ear? And if he did raise this up and showed his right ear, it wouldn't be an intelligent choice, right? So he did, first time, he showed his left ear with his left hand. And he was supposed to do it with his right hand to be intelligent. But intelligence is adaptive. Because he had something heavy in his hand, he didn't do that, okay? So he used his left hand, which previously you said not intelligent. But in this case, it was intelligent choice. So thank you. So this adaptiveness about intelligence is very, very important. Right. So if you go to any discipline, you will find a different definition. Actually, there is a paper. Somebody sat down and found out that there are more than 100 different definitions of intelligence. And each discipline has its own. This is my definition of intelligence. It is capacity to reduce uncertainty, to adapt to changes in life situations. And intelligence is fundamental to our life through the history. We needed to be intelligent to avoid our predators, okay? Uncertainty. Who's going to kill me? Who's going to eat me? Through the history of the mankind. We needed to be intelligent to find food. Who can I eat? Who can I hunt? And who should I find to mate, for example? The other option that we always followed through the history. So all these questions that we had to answer for our survival needed to reduce uncertainty. And it is still the same. We need to reduce uncertainty. You like mobile phones because it does help you to reduce uncertainty instantly. If you need to get the news from a friend, you just give them a call. If I need a translation, you just do the translation. It reduces your uncertainty. Uncertainty is something of a burden for the humankind. Reducing uncertainty is always intelligent. For problem solving, we are actually reducing uncertainty to find a solution, okay? So, intelligence is adaptive. It lives in an ecosystem. It can have a body. It could be like a human or an animal body. It could be just a system. It is always interactive. There is an interaction with the environment that intelligent behavior exists. Do you think plants are intelligent? Plants. Bravo. Those of you who think plants are intelligent, they are intelligent as well. Do you think animals are intelligent? Yes, there is an intelligence in animals. A frog can catch a fly with his or her tongue. And how does he or she do that? That's an intelligent behavior, okay? If you observe plants, you will see, for example, there is always a reason why certain plants are like that. So that willow tree is like this, but there is a reason for it. And then you see climbing plants who are going through certain actions by interacting with the wind. They find, their stem moves around with the wind, and then when it touches something, it knows that it can grasp this and then grow even further up and live through the storms. So that's an intelligent activity. Okay, so that's natural intelligence, okay? Examples. Let's go to the artificial intelligence. Right. Okay, let's not go to the artificial intelligence. Let me give you some examples, more examples of intelligence. Now, intelligence can be cognitive inside our brain. It can be an active, like moving, grasping something and holding and drinking water, say. And adaptive, sunflowers, they have an adaptive intelligence because during the day they turn to the sun to get more of the sunlight. And collective intelligence, this is important. And I want to explain this to you. And this can help you in many ways for your, in your maybe certain time of your career, how nature solves problems, okay? Collective intelligence. Now, can you all see this? Can you all see this? All right. So suppose this is a nest of ants, okay? And here there are some food sources. Pile of food. And when the ants come out of this nest, they move around and they try to find food. And when they find the food, they go back. Because when they move, the ants, they lay something called pheromone, which smells, and they follow the pheromone. All right? So the other ant comes out, it moves around, it finds the food, and it comes back. And another one comes, finds the food, and goes back. Another one comes, very silly ant, moves too much all around, but then it comes back. Now, for those silly ants, when they come here through the long ways, or here through the long ways, they lay pheromone only once, while this guy, who's got the shortest route, it goes this way and then comes back. And while this is traversing once, this guy here traverses twice on the same path, and therefore twice as much pheromone, right? So the next ant which comes out of this nest will be attracted to which one? It will be attracted to this shortest one, right? And the more you have ants in the shorter paths, the more ants will be attracted to this. And suddenly you will see why ants are following just a certain trail. And that trail is often the shortest path between the food source and the nest. And how do they compute that? They don't know maths. They only do something very simple. They come, they walk, and they just smell and follow the pheromone. And at the end of this collective behavior, the ants can compute the shortest path between food source and the nest. So that's collective intelligence. One ant wouldn't be able to solve that, okay? They can only solve this collectively. But what is important about this is that this system is adaptive. If I destroy, maybe you can try this, or maybe when you were kids you did try this. If you destroy the shortest path, these stupid-looking ants are very useful. they will help the colony to adopt back to the next shortest path. Okay, this guy, for example. This guy seemed a little bit stupid but because it wasn't in the shortest path. But now, when there is an obstacle here, the ants will go to a bit of a chaos, and then suddenly they will get attracted to the next shortest path by the same logic that we discussed, okay? So the collective intelligence is the intelligence when parts of a system does their own job by themselves without a central authority, without somebody telling them what to do. This shortest path is computed by the emergent action of the total colony of the ants. And it's adaptive, and that adaptation to the changes in the situation is done through the help of this stupid-looking ants. So, perfection is not good for you. In the nature, nothing is perfect, okay? Nature is adaptive. Optimization is not good for you. When you optimize and when you find perfect things, you can hardly adapt. It is more difficult to adapt. Adaptation is very important for intelligence. Now, in artificial intelligence, we solve these kind of problems. And there can be a situation where you come across with some solutions to your problems that might be better solved through collective intelligence, okay? So is this good? Is this a good example? Did you already know this? Okay. So let me put it that way. Right, so let's go to artificial intelligence. Next one, please. Right. Capacity of the machines to show intelligence. All those kind of intelligence that I showed to you. Let's go next. Go quickly a bit. All right, so artificial intelligence, when you study artificial intelligence, you will come across with these three concepts: narrow artificial intelligence, general artificial intelligence, and super artificial intelligence. Narrow artificial intelligence means AI systems solving some domain-specific problems, some small problems, okay? Where we know the boundaries of the problem. It is specific, just one problem at a time. General intelligence means we have an intelligence which acts like human intelligence, which behaves like human intelligence. As human beings, we do generalize. For example, when we were kids, we learn how to walk on the smooth surfaces, right? But then later, we can walk on a slope, on rocky places, right? So we generalize behavior of walking. So we do learn generalization. Generalization is important. So you learn from some sample behaviors, and then you generalize that behavior to a wider situations. And super means artificial intelligence systems being much better in every way than the human beings, okay? So when super AI comes, the AI systems will be solving problems much, much better than us, all the humanity. But this shows an accepted improvement of the AI systems into the future. But I believe this is wrong, okay? And I will tell you why. Now, this assumes that artificial intelligence systems will have a certain body or a certain form, a centralized system. So that centralized system, or a robot, for example, will be producing as general solution as human beings, as super solutions than the human beings. But in fact, AI will not go in this direction. It will go in other directions, like using intelligent Internet of Things, and also something called trans-intelligence, where human beings will be more like robots, and robots will be more like human beings. We will discuss this later in this session. Right, so, but where do they come from? These things come from, these concepts come from the successes of narrow intelligence. In the last 10 years or so, maybe a bit more, artificial intelligence systems started to solve problems that was supposed to be not possible for the machines. And artificial intelligence systems started to be general, finding some general solutions to from some specific examples. So that gave a hope to the AI community in the world to see that AI is going to will be an artificial general intelligence and then super intelligence, which I think is wrong. Okay, so, but let's look at this narrow artificial intelligence and some of the examples where we see some generalization within narrow intelligence and super solutions within domain-specific narrow artificial intelligence, okay? So let's look at the examples. Can we go one next? Right. So this is the definition of a weak AI or narrow artificial intelligence or domain. These are all interchangeable concepts that's been used in the literature. Mostly they say narrow AI or weak AI or domain-specific. There is one task at hand, say playing chess or playing any game really, or face identification, okay? And in this task, computers can be human level. For example, in identifying brain tumors, computer systems, artificial intelligence systems are often as comparable or sometimes better than human doctors, okay? And so super intelligence, when AI systems are better than doctors, for example, in identifying the brain tumors, then we say there is a super intelligence. But this is again within narrow intelligence, okay? Not an artificial intelligence system who's solving and generalizing for all the problems that it faces. Okay, next one, please. Again, in artificial intelligence, we have the same type of classification. This is my classification for you to understand better the type of intelligence that we are dealing with in artificial intelligence, okay? So cognitive, something going in the system, and then active, like robots, showing us some examples. Adaptive ones are very tricky, so not many examples. And then the collective intelligence that I did show to you, because we simulate this ants' behavior to solve certain problems. We have swarm of robots, for example, little robots solving problems. Next one, please. Okay, so this is familiar, probably to some of you. Have you heard of this Watson? Yes? Yeah. Watson is one of an impressive AI system built by IBM. And there is a game in the States called Jeopardy. Is it somewhere else as well? I don't know. A game called Jeopardy. It's like a general knowledge test. And the Watson was in this competition and got the highest prize. So performed much better than the best of the people in that game. And how it does that? It has certain database of its own, and then also it collects data from the internet. So internally it works out, and then it can perform better than human beings. Does that make artificial intelligence a super intelligence? No. Only in this game, okay? Jeopardy game. AI can show much better performance than other systems, human beings, okay? Now it is being used for other domains like healthcare, finance, and other things, so it's become a useful system for the business world. The next one, please. Now, Kasparov, yes? This is the poor guy. It's his worst day probably because he lost against a against a machine in 19, is it 2000? Which day is it? Which date is it? I don't know, but 2008 or something like that. And so we as AI professionals, we thought it will never be possible for an AI system to win against a human being. But with Deep Blue, the AI system are shown to be perform better than human beings, okay? in the chess only. So that created another hope that we can create super artificial intelligence. But this example is, again, in the narrow domain, okay? Why is it narrow? Because we know the boundaries of the game. There's a board, 8 by 8, and then there are pieces. We know how these pieces will move. The only problem there is alternatives. There are so many alternatives, ways of playing. And we know the rules of the game. And so it is not difficult for the machine to go through, to learn the rules of the games, and then to go through lots of different alternatives. Maybe a human being, most of the human beings will be weaker against the machine, because it is very difficult for us to go millions of different alternatives. And computers can be super in this narrow, in this domain-specific problem, okay? A super machine won against a super guy in chess in the world, but only in the narrow domain. Next one, please. Go is, do you know, anyone playing Go? Do you guys know how to play this game? That game is much more difficult than chess. And okay, they said AI system won against a human in chess, but there are more difficult problems. Would AI be possible? Would AI won against a human being in this game? And then they tried, and then yes, Lee Sedol, a Korean world champion, was beaten by AlphaGo, an AI system, in this game as well. But it's performed super 4-1, sorry, in 5 out of 5 games. But only in this narrow domain, okay? Still, AI is not a super AI. It is super only for this game. And Lee Sedol won one game. Do you know how? He risked, and he made one move which is not supposed to be done. You know, a normal Go player would never do that. So that shocked the computer a little bit. And then in that game, Lee Sedol was able to win that game, so 4-1. Next one, please. Do you know this lady? She's got a Saudi Arabian passport. Where is our Saudi Arabian friend? She's got your country's passport. Did you know that? Yeah, Saudi Arabia gave Sophia. Yeah. Right. The developers of Sophia tells us very clearly that Sophia is not as intelligent as it is seen on the screen. Okay. It is more like a show off. Before it does the interview, they do train her, or they give some keywords to her, so that Sophia can answer questions correctly. So it's not as good, as perfect, as super as it is, but still, she can imitate some gestures, and so this is like well-known example of an AI robot, which is not really always as good as it seems. So there is a bit of a show-off there, because AI systems are not that developed yet. Okay, next one, please. This robot, Boston Dynamics, I'm sure you have seen lots of videos of this, you know, making lots of different jumps and walks and fights. These systems, we don't know how much AI is in there. They are very difficult to do. They are robust systems, one of the best examples of robots, but how much AI in them, we don't know, because they don't disclose that information, the Boston Dynamics. Let's go to the next one. Here's a collective, also a bit adaptive intelligence. You know, the ants make, by the same similar example, the ants can make bridges when they want to move over the water or from one leaf to another leaf, and that's a collective intelligence. They stick to each other, and then they make this bridge, and then the rest of the colony can walk over. And so we simulate this intelligence with using some small robots. If these small robots would go one by one through these rocks, they will fall down between the rocks. But if they get connected to each other, they automatically connect to each other, then they can pass through that gap. And the robots together, when working together, they can build systems as well. Next one, please. Right, this is interesting. Augmented intelligence is when human beings help robots performing certain tasks, we augment intelligence of the robots. When robots help, or AI systems help human beings, we augment the intelligence of the human beings. I think this is an area where artificial intelligence will move faster rather than having super AIs everywhere or general AIs everywhere. Traditionally, these are intelligent decision support systems where we have these rule-based systems for a particular domain. For example, if you are an architect, and if you want to design a certain building, you just give some preset conditions or some parameters, and then the computer system will come up with a design to help this expert architect. Or for the doctors, if an ill person comes to the doctor asks questions, right? Do you have a pain? Where is it? Do you have it regularly, etc.? So an expert system would ask this question to the patient before the patient sees the doctor. The system can identify what possible illness could be and what would be the possible prescription. So augmenting intelligence of the experts. And at the moment, of course, the systems have developed much better, and they can augment, as in the example of the brain tumors, false positives are very, very critical. For example, if somebody has a tumor, doesn't have a tumor, and if doctor says, yes, this person has a tumor, it's a big risk, false positive, okay? And so if this big risk, the AI systems are becoming more and more critical in identifying these false positives, and sometimes being really much better than human doctors. Okay, so I will give you towards the end of the session, if I forget, please remind me. Let's talk about brain-machine interfaces, okay? Brain-machine interfaces, you know probably this. Elon Musk had inserted some chips in the brain of a not pork. What is that? Huh? Pig, yes, sorry. In brain of a pig and also brain of a chimpanzee. And the chimpanzee, in the last experiment, the chimpanzee was able to play a game without touching the machine, the video game, with his brain waves. Okay, have you seen this video? It's impressive. And so I will talk about the details of these brain machines as part of this augmented intelligence when we look at the future of AI. So if I forget, please remind me about this chips in the brain. Just say chips in the brain. Okay, next one. Right. Again, the same thing for augmented intelligence. We can look at it as expert systems or Watson helping court cases in the legal domain. Watson is being used, and it could be active artificial body parts. You know, there's intelligent prostheses. If somebody loses their legs or arms, intelligent body parts are being implanted in the body of the person. I've seen examples where that person is actually can, say, a mountain climber losing their legs with artificial and intelligent spare leg. Prothesed leg, they can climb back and maybe perform even better than with their natural. And these intelligent body parts are adapting to the biological body. And biological body is learning from the artificial parts as well. So that's augmenting the intelligent behaviors in our body. yeah, human-robot. There are work environments where human and robots cooperate with each other. There are certain things that a human being, it's difficult for a human being to do, and then there are other things which are easier for a human being to do. So they cooperate whenever there is a need for a robot to do the job. Then robot does the job. But in this environment, robots are learning from each other how to be. For example, these robots are made with soft movements, rather not to become a danger in the working environments. Yeah, so there you see a collective augmented intelligence. Okay, next one, please. Right, okay, so these are all, up until now, I tried to explain to you a background about what kind of problems artificial intelligence is dealing with, okay? Now we are coming to the core. These are concepts that you will always come across in artificial intelligence. Now, narrow intelligence is successful only because we have now a lot of data called big data. Because we have a lot of data, we are collecting a lot of data, and we are able to process big data, we are having AI systems perform much better than they used to do, say, 20 years ago. When I was doing my PhD in the 90s, if we worked with 100 rows of data, we would be so happy. We'd say, wow, our memory would be like 1 megabyte or something. But now, we work with millions of data, and those millions and millions of data are pictures, images, and they are so heavy. So now what happened was the technology behind AI systems, yeah, like the bandwidth, the speed of transferring data and being able to process data and handling large data has improved much better in the recent years than it was before. And that gives power to the artificial intelligence systems, especially in the narrow domain. And data science is interested in this. So actually data science is maybe more important than AI, because artificial intelligence systems did not really improve much from 90s or around that time. So AI systems are not more intelligent, radically more intelligent than the systems we used to use, say, after 70s, really. But what has happened was our ability to deal with data and to process data has improved. And that's very, very important. So preparing data for the AI systems, because we are much better in that, now we can have AI systems which are much better in solving problems which we used to think it wouldn't be possible. For example, because of the processing speed and the memory, AlphaGo could win against a human, the world champion. But if it was 90s, we wouldn't be able to do that because our memory of our systems wouldn't be, or the processor of our systems wouldn't be handling so much alternative ways of playing the game. So data science, data handling is maybe more important than artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence techniques. Now, whatever your data is will determine the result of your artificial intelligence, okay? So AI systems can also be used like a black box. They are, for you guys, it's almost ready. You can just prepare your data and feed your data into the AI systems, and suddenly you can get a response from your AI system from the other end. So we used to write all these programs for the AI tools and techniques and sit down and do coding. You don't have to do that complicated coding to use AI systems now. You know, Amazon and Google has in the cloud some certain environments which you can learn to use, which is not really difficult. You can learn it maybe depending on your interest and time is spent. You can learn it in a short period of time, in days really, and then start using AI systems. So your data is much more important. And so once the data is important, then its relationship with media and information literacy becomes important. So data in the media and information literacy applications and practice will determine how the AI systems will work, how the fake systems will be, for example, produced, or if will be detected, fake news will be detected. All right, so let's look at some of the, I think Karen did cover some of the concepts here in her session about what is artificial intelligence and what is machine learning. Now, most of the systems that you see in artificial intelligence, they are all, most of them are related to machine learning. But apart from machine learning, artificial intelligence does a lot of other jobs, like vision, and enhanced vision systems, intelligent vision system, robotics. Natural language processing is understanding language, like translating from one language to other language. When you speak to Siri, it does, she or he does understand you and then respond you, hopefully, correctly. And artificial life are all these systems that we talked about, this collective intelligence. What is happening in the natural environment we simulate in artificial intelligence. Now, those domains are important. Deep learning is subdomain of machine learning, okay? So, in order to solve problems in these domains, we have to use certain techniques of artificial intelligence. And these techniques traditionally are statistical, symbolic techniques, and then most widely used ones are neural networks. They are simple imitation of how human brain works. I will show you, I will give you an example just in a moment to show you what actually makes artificial intelligence, and we will look at the neural networks. Deep neural networks are a different form of neural networks, and then we have genetic algorithms. These genetic algorithms are techniques which simulate Darwinian evolution in the machine to find better and better solutions using the idea of survival of the fittest. Now, what's my next slide? Can you remind me? Okay, consciousness. No, it's a C word. We don't want to talk about it. Can we go back, please? Yeah, thank you. How am I doing with time? One hour, right? Okay, good. Now, we have come to a critical point in this session. Now I will explain to you in a very non-technical way what really makes artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence systems artificially intelligent. Now, a warning for you. If you talk to an AI expert, if that expert tells you use the word algorithm interchangeably with artificial intelligence, please run away from that expert. That expert doesn't know in good detail what artificial intelligence is, okay? Artificial intelligence means moving away from algorithmic problem solving, which I will explain to you just now. Okay, so algorithms are used by artificial intelligence systems, but AI systems are not algorithmic. Because we cannot be algorithmic, we are using AI system. What's an algorithm? Algorithm is step-by-step solving a problem, okay? So I want to pick up this pen. I just go like this. I see the pen, and I move towards the pen. I raise my hand. I lower my hand, grasp it, raise it, and pick it, okay? So that step-by-step solving a problem is an algorithmic way of solving a problem. Artificial intelligence systems are the systems which summarizes those algorithms, okay? So algorithms can be defined in terms of conditional statements. If then else, if something is this, then something else, okay? If this condition holds, then we have to do certain action, for example. Now, we can solve certain problems if the problem is small by writing just certain conditionals, okay? For example, if the heat is about 25 in this room, we want the aircon to turn on so that it cools the room down. So we can have an automatic system which often exists in there. So this is a very simple intelligent system, okay? And you can do this with simple statement. But if you have a problem which requires explanation for thousands of, maybe millions of situations, then it's impossible to write all these rules, right? Conditionals. You can't sit down, and because human intelligence sometimes is not enough to find all these systems. So comes the AI systems, those techniques that we were talking. We're going to talk about neural networks today, but all these AI techniques are used to summarize all these conditional statements. In another way of saying is this: we give artificial intelligence systems certain example situations, and from these examples we want an AI structure or an AI technique to learn a pattern, a rule out of these examples, okay? So let's work now on a specific problem. Okay, a simple problem. What could it be? Let's classify tropical fruits, okay? In order to classify tropical fruits, we want to collect some information about fruits. And we want to collect information about features, characteristics of those fruits, okay? Don't forget this word feature, attribute. Is a very important, very technical word that's used in artificial intelligence. Okay, so one feature would be what? For a fruit? Color? Color of the fruit? Can you read my writing? And what is another feature? Give me another feature. Bravo. Another one? Bravo. Taste? Bravo. One more? Juice, amount of juice, maybe? How juicy it is? Right, okay. So these are features. This could be hundreds, it doesn't matter, okay? These are features for describing fruits. Now, we collect data about these features. In one example, say in the first example, say the color is blue, size is, say, 5 centimeters. What is this one? Shape is round, like perfect round. Most of the things are round, but and then the taste is sugary. I don't know how to describe this, but whatever, okay? And then in the second example, we say the color is yellow, mostly, and the size is 2 centimeters, and the shape is oval, bravo, blah, blah, okay? So we will fill in instances of fruits in a table. Now, to a human eye, if you look at this data, you will see that tropical fruits, if you have like hundreds, say 50 of them, a human being would go through these 50 examples and will say, okay, if a fruit is juicy and tastes sugary and color is mostly yellow, I'm making up a little bit, okay? It's a tropical fruit. Otherwise, it is not, okay? So that you can have that rule. But imagine you are working we will give examples of other domains where you need a large number of instances, examples. And if you have that example, it is impossible for a human being to go through all these millions of examples and try to find this rule. So what artificial intelligence does, instead of writing a table, an AI system will look at these values of these instances and create a construct, like artificial neural networks. And that artificial neural networks will summarize this information on this table, okay? And how does that work? I'll show you. An artificial neural network is a simple imitation of human brain. We have neurons, and the neurons are connected to each other. Once we talk about a certain information, certain neurons get activated in our brain. And that activation helps us to solve problems, okay? So, for a typical artificial neural network, we have input neurons. These input neurons are equal to the number of features you have in your table, okay? So, however features you have, you will have input neurons, and you have some hidden or intermediary neurons. And then you have an output neuron. These, in the computer, these are nodes, and then the nodes are connected to other neurons. Often they are fully connected, okay? But you can have different structures. And then these are connected to the... There are lots of complex mathematics going on here, but in a very non-technical way. For you to understand, we feed this information through these neurons. And the information flows through this network. And at the end, this network says either 1 or 0. It turns into 1 or 0. This can all be represented by numbers, okay? So instead of round, I can say 1. Instead of oval, I say 2, and then other shapes, 3, 4, 5, etc. So all these numbers are fed into this network. There is a complex computation here, but at the end, its output neuron will say 1 for a tropical fruit and 0 for a non-tropical fruit, okay? So if I give all these instances, and if my structure here, artificial neural network, gives me always correct answers, then I say, wow, this system is intelligent, okay? How does that happen? These neurons are connected through some weight numbers, W, okay? So, and say a number between 0 and 1. This shows the strength of the connection. This gets computed by optimizing these values of weights. So if I feed in a certain instance, and if this neural network gives me a wrong answer, I say, oh, change your values of your weights to give me the right answer. There is an algorithm to do that, and it changes the weights to give the right answer. And then the next example comes, and if it does give the correct answer, I say, okay, don't change your weights, just leave it there. The next instance goes there, and then if it gives me a wrong answer, I say, please change the values of your weights to give me the right answer. The values get changed. So over hundreds of times, maybe, if I give these examples, these weights will get optimized to give me correct answers. Is it difficult or is it easy to follow? Yeah? Yeah.
Instead of having all these features, we will actually have one simple one, right?
Instead of all these features, we will have
Yes.
what?
Yes, we will have only one and a simple one on the top, or no?
No.
Not necessarily.
No, at the top. Okay.
Yes.
So
So,
think
sorry.
about it this way. All right.
Does the top
Yeah.
like summarizes in the best way possible all the features down there, right?
No.
Oh,
The
no.
top is only the answer. Okay, so if I have these features, if the color is blue, if it's 5 centimeters, it's round, then it's a tropical. This is my output, okay? 1.
Okay.
If it is yellow, it is 2 centimeters, and if it is oval, it's not tropical, it's 0. Okay. So this is output, okay? So this is the same as this one. Okay. The last one. So it is the answer. So if I show you a fruit in my hand, if I say to you, is this fruit tropical or not, you will say yes or no, right? So it is like that. If I change my fruit, I show you, is this tropical or not? You will say, look at the size and color and maybe your previous knowledge, you will say yes or no. So that is the situation, okay? So each one of them refers to a different fruit or different appearance of a fruit as well, possibly. So I have hundreds of them, okay? 100 ways of describing fruits through these features, and then I have hundreds of examples, okay? Hundreds of answers, I'm sorry. So if I feed in these features, I get response from it. This is the summary. The summary of the data here is through the optimum set of weight values. So instead of writing if then else, if then else, if then else, I have this network structure with certain weights. If I compute this weight using artificial intelligence, then I have this construct which can give me always the right answer for this problem. How do I know that? In the narrow domain, in machine learning, I do 2 things called training and testing. So suppose I collected 500 data, 500 fruit data, data from 500 different fruits. So I have 500 rows, instances, okay? So I pick 200 or 300 of them and hide the rest. So I train this artificial intelligence. Training means find the set of optimal weight values using just 200 or 300 of those 500. Once I find this network always giving me the right answers, if I give a tropical data for a tropical fruit, and then if I get a correct answer as tropical, I say, wow, my network is working. So once I'm satisfied with the network, then I start testing my network on the unseen data, the data that I didn't show. Remember, I hid away the 300 of them. So I give instances, and if it gives me still correct answer, then I say, oh, this system is working. All right? Right, so this is so much the complicated stuff. And I'm going to give you a bit of a break, and then I will continue more. Do you have any questions on this? Do you understand this? Basically, here, the take-home message, the thing that you want to take away from here is this. Artificial intelligence creates constructs so that if you feed in data, it gives you correct answers. Okay? Artificial intelligence systems are not algorithmic systems. They are moving us away from algorithm because we cannot write algorithms. In the next session, I will tell you to identify a bear, a teddy bear, for example, among the pictures of animals. I'm going to give you millions of pictures of animals because there will be millions of different ways of a teddy bear looking from different angles, from different lights, and different colors maybe, different size. And you cannot write these algorithmic if-then-else statements, okay? So therefore, artificial intelligence systems are those black box systems. These are ready-made for you, okay? In Google and everywhere. So you feed in the data, and then you get your correct or not correct answer. Are you tired a bit? 5 minutes break? Yeah, can we have 5 minutes break? Because this was a bit heavy. And then we're going to go a bit easy stuff. All right. 5 minutes. Everybody is here? Nobody is here. Anybody is here? Hear me come. Please, come on. Nobody is coming. Right. Okay, how are we doing? Is this good for you? Is it too heavy? Not anymore. From now onwards, we are going simple stuff. Okay. Now, if you have any questions or anything, I'm waiting, Robert, for other people to come for your questions. Yeah. My email is in the program under my bio. So keep in touch. If you have questions, if you do any AI systems or anything, I work with young people all around the world. So whenever you have questions, I'm always ready to help you guys, okay? Now, in this, Yeah, okay. If you have, so in this session, we are going to talk about artificial intelligence mostly. And in the next session, we will talk about how this influences media, social media, and the society. So we have a lot of time to discuss that in the next session. Shall I start or shall I wait for the others? Ready, steady, sleep. All right. Okay. So far, we covered most of the concepts and most of the technical stuff. Could we go further? Consciousness is a very interesting topic, but I'm not going to discuss this here because it is about whether we are expecting computers to be conscious as we are. But it's a philosophical, scientific, and also mystical topic. I'm not going to discuss it here. So before I go to further discussions, I think Robert has a few questions. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just to go back to what you said right at the beginning about collective action. Yeah, we're good. Okay, thanks. Yeah, sorry. In the beginning, you talked about ants. Yeah, and this collective action, like one ant leaves pheromone trail, goes back again, and the one that has the shortest route ends up making a heavier pheromone trail. They follow him, etc. But I wrote this question down because it was so long. I said here, you give the example of ants using collective action, but their motivation to act is not independent. They are driven by the powerful pheromones released by the queen ant. When her pheromones fade, her workers come out of their trance and kill her, much like bees or wasps, as I understand. So, can their actions truly be called collective? It's a singular queen ant that dominates, right?
Yeah. The queen ants actually is a reason why there is a colony. So that's a different way of looking at the ant colony systems than looking at this problem. We are just here trying to see how effectively ants are solving a simple problem, the shortest path between nest and the food source. Now, the examples can be many, okay? So there can be some certain ways. For example, think about Belgrade. In Belgrade, no one is hungry, right? But there's no central authority or municipality which is directing how the food will be provided to every individual in the city. What happens is restaurants sell food, and you cook at home. You go to the market, buy food, and all other food sources in the city, they do their own jobs, and suddenly you see that everyone is being fed, right? So there's no economies are like that. Financial markets are like that. There's a dynamics, but they are all kind of similar to what we see in the nature. Does that answer your question, or are you still trying to tie it to the queen?
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I just wanted
The-
to talk about bugs.
Yeah, but the queen is very important to keep the colony. But we are just talking about solving one problem here. But the queen that never tells them, follow this route.
Right. Can I ask one more quick question?
Yeah, please
And
go
then-
ahead.
and then I'll stop. So you want to make a distinction between algorithms
Yeah.
and AI.
Yeah.
But is it fair to say that algorithms as these small mechanisms of problem solving, when put together collectively, could be construed as an AI intellect? Like maybe you could imagine like the difference between a multicellular organism and a single-celled organism. Like we're made up of cells, and a cell on its most basic level only does really primitive things, but when you put them all together, we become these complex sentient beings.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, like can you build a greater consciousness of AI through algorithms? And the second thing as an extension is AI an extension of the natural world? Because if we're building AI and computers and we are living beings, is it an extension of evolution? Because we will become bionic and inevitably drift towards this. So is it really artificial, or is it not perhaps just the next step in evolution?
Okay, so two questions. One is about algorithms and AI, and the other one is about extension of AI, whether AI is an extension of natural world. For the first question, there is a clear distinction about algorithm. What is an algorithm and what's not an algorithm? Even even when you are dealing with one very simple problem, you may choose to describe it through an algorithm, and you can also solve it by artificial intelligence. For example, this heating automatic rheostat, the automatic heating adjusting systems. For example, cleaning robots. If I have a cleaning robot in my house, if I give through algorithms to the cleaning robot where certain objects are, where is my sofa, where is my table, where is my television, etc. Whatever is touching the floor, if I never move them around, if their places are set, I don't need artificial intelligence. I can tell this cleaning robot the room size and exact coordinates of each of those objects and their size, and the cleaning robot will always follow all these empty spaces. Or if it can go under these objects, it will go under these objects, but will not fit. But in artificial intelligence, we are solving something very, very interesting. We make a cleaning robot which can work for every room or any room. We are trying, okay? This is not possible. I will talk to you about this just in a moment. But we are aiming for that. So what happens? We evolve this, okay, we train, let me say, we teach these robots to learn something very simple. We say, okay, because these cleaning robots have some certain rays, they send ray and then they pick up the ray back again and then they measure the distance. What we teach them, if you see an object, don't get close to that object more than 2 centimeters. Because if you get close, then you're gonna hit and maybe you will get stuck. Instead of giving the coordinates of the objects in a room, we are training these robots just to learn, I shouldn't get my ray distance shouldn't be less than 2 centimeters. That's very simple, right? If I did teach these robots this simple rule, then I can solve many rooms problems. But as we talked with, what was your name? I'm sorry, the journalist friend from Kosovo. She's very busy. What was your name? Gresa, yeah. Now, she told me whether this AI systems are 100% correct. No, most of the time they are not 100% correct because they are not algorithmic. We don't specify exactly give them what to do. They are more statistical. At the behind all these constructs, there are statistical solutions. They are 90%, 95% correct. So therefore, there is a big difference between but they use algorithm to create those constructs. At the back, we use algorithms, for example, how to optimize those weights. There's an algorithmic learning method. But AI systems themselves are not algorithms. They are far from algorithms. They are actually the reason why we want to keep away from algorithms. Okay, so, and the other question was whether AI systems, you know, evidently, in many examples, AI systems are extensions of natural systems, unfortunately, in a way, but in some other ways, fortunately. We talked about these prothese legs and arms. In those systems, the body adopts and learns from these mechanical systems, and mechanical systems learn from the body. And so they are creating now, or it's artificial body parts that are almost natural to the to the person who is using it. And they always report, you know, the experiments always report that they think that they have a real body part, although their body part. So this is possible, and so this is an extension of biological part. You know, these systems that we are using is an extension of a mind, right? You don't use your memory, you use for your best friend number, you use your memory of your computer. For translation, you don't do it. For computation, you use, so it is an extension of, but whether, what was the second part of this question? Whether it's going to be, whether AI is going to evolve that way or not? Yes, fortunately and unfortunately, this is what I was going to come. This is an interesting topic. So I want to give you this example of brain-machine interfaces. Okay. Now, artificial intelligence will evolve in two ways. One is about collective intelligence, and the other one is trans-intelligence. And trans-intelligence, trans-intelligence in the sense that we will have intelligence of mechanics, mechanic being cyber, whatever, robots or whatever it is, and AI systems, and also intelligence of biology. So, and the typical example on this is about these brain-machine interfaces. Now, there are lots of work done in this field since 90s, but I will give you one of the examples that is already being applied to the human beings, okay? So all the examples, most of the examples have been done on the animals, like in mouses and mice and chimpanzees, but there is a very impressive example on human beings. So in this brain and machine interfaces, you have maybe, so you know these, there are these equipments, electrodes, that you wear to your head, and that reads your signals from your brain. This is a non-intrusive one, okay? And then you can play games with this as well. Have you seen this? Yeah? So this is a non-intrusive one. Intrusive ones are those machines which goes into your brain and reads signals from your neurons, like the one Elon Musk has done with the chimpanzees. A human example is also done, but I will give you a human example with the non-intrusive one. You wear this device with electrodes in certain specific points from your head, skull, and it reads your brain signals. Now, the most advanced example is this. There are three people. They are physically in different places. They don't see each other, they don't talk to each other, they have no communication with each other, except their brain signals. Each one of them has these apparatus which reads their brain signals, and the brain signals of those three are connected to each other. Okay? They are given a game, a video game. But not any of them has the full information about the video game. One of them can see the screen of the video game. The other one can play with the joystick, and the other one knows the rules of the game. So each one has a partial information about the video game. Only when you connect these brain waves to 3 of them, they can collectively play the game successfully. Can you believe it? This is an amazing an extension of our biological interaction with the computers. Is this good or bad? I leave it to you. I am technology critical. I devoted my life to improving people's lives through technology. And at the end of the day, I don't believe that technology is good for us. If you look at the graphics of technology in the last hundreds of years, it goes like this. In hundreds, thousands of years, like with the fire and the wheel and everything, the graphic goes like this, thousands of years. In the last 100 years, it goes like that. It has come to a certain point in our life that the technology is dominating our lifestyles. We are natural beings, but with the technology, we are becoming unnatural. I always say we have to die naturally, An elephant should step on us, or a tiger should eat us. But we die of stress, all these kinds of diseases which are mostly related to artificial environments that we are living. So this technology, we have to be very critical, because your young brains, it is very important you think about these advances in technology and how it relates to human beings. So in terms of evolution, I hope that it is not the human evolution that gets combined with the machines. Now, I give you one last example about this. Now, this brain-machine interface is in Pentagon. Pentagon funds all this research in all around the world, okay? And one of the most interesting one that they are interested in is to send neurodusts to the human brains. And these neurodusts are little nano chips. We were talking with Karen about this. And so what they want to achieve, with these brain waves, so I told you about the human experiments, but now their aim, these are all open information. I am a scientist, so I can't talk about conspiracy, okay? So if you look at, or if you want sources, I can give you the sources, but they are available, publicly available. So what they want, what they are interested in, if there is a soldier fighting in the field, if that soldier is scared, they want to send a signal from anywhere in the world to make that soldier feel relaxed and help that soldier be motivated, okay? So think about all these different kinds of variations of this kind of, we were discussing whether there is a nanochip inserted in the vaccinations with Karen. I know that technology is there. It is possible for them to do it, but whether they have done it or not, we don't know. Karen thinks it's impossible for them to do. No. She thinks that they haven't done it. What I am saying, scientifically, this mRNA technology, CRISPR, is advanced so much, and also these neurodusts, they are those chips under the skin in the Sweden and Northern Europe. These are like very simple interaction of your biological being. They are now very simple, but the technology is there to insert all these little chips into our body and communicate with these little chips to send data and receive data. The technology is there. Whether it is being done or not, we don't know. There is no proof for it. But we have to be careful. We have to follow these technologies in order to see how the human evolution, how the society will get shaped. Maybe we'll talk about this in the second session. Now, so these brain-machine interfaces are funded all around the world, and Elon Musk has done something which has been done traditionally, to have these electrodes inserted into human brain and collect data from that. And although what he's doing is not very new, but what he's done more drastically, radically different than any other researchers in the world is that traditionally, conventionally, the data collected from neurons are about in the hundreds, okay? From 100 neurons. But this guy is now able to collect more than 2,000 neurons, data from more than 2,000 neurons. That's very interesting. So this technology is improving. And the other thing about the previous Elon Musk experiments, when there was these electrodes inserted in the pig's brain, they were able to detect which leg the pig will move before the pig moves her or his leg. They were able to detect it because the brain sends the signal to the brain. And when you collect that signal from the brain to the computer, you would see it before the pig moves. Can you see the implications of this? Free will. If you're interested in philosophy, free will. Yeah. So these are just examples of how technology is influencing our lives to a what degree. Now, let's go back to your... do you have any questions? Okay. How long time do you have? 30 minutes? Okay. Let's go back to your area, the media and information literacy. Now, I want you to find me, give me an intelligence system which detects lies, fake news. I want you to design a feature, set of features. I want 3 groups or 4 groups, I don't know, working groups. 4 groups, huh? Yeah, all right. Okay, so 1 group here, this way, and then 1 group here, 1 group here, and then 1 group here. 4 groups, make me lie detector. Who's lying on the internet? Okay, so fake news. How would you detect fake news on the internet? So I want you to create a system which, actually, just the simple way to look at your system is to identify these features, okay? And what kind of values these features will have. Okay, so is this clear? Yeah. An artificial intelligence system which detects lies, fake news. Fake videos are difficult. How long do you need? 10? 5? 10 is good. The more you talk to each other, the better it is. You can ask questions. Can you write them down here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need a pen.
Can somebody help you?
Yep. I need a pen.
Yeah, I will give you.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Okay. Should I draw diagrams or just write them down first?
However you want to explain to the people.
Okay. Source? Yeah.
Please please address them.
Okay, guys, just a second. So we collected some things that we can decide upon on whether the news is fake news or real news. So yeah, now I will tell them to you. You took a photo, okay? Source. Okay, so the first thing is source, and here, just can I see them? Okay, so here we talked about reputation of the source. Is it well known or not? Is it objective or subjective? And we talked about the transparency of the source and reliability. So whether we rely on the source or not, or whether the consumers rely on the source or not. The second thing, which is also related to the source, is the author. I think author is not like this. I don't know how. Anyways, so the author who wrote the article, also I think they are the same points. So the reputation of the author, the objectivity of the author, transparency and reliability, if you rely on the author or not. And later we said, redundancy, and I think we talked about this yesterday. Usually fake news contains redundant words. They also, or repetitive words. Also the sentence structure is also important. So they usually contain mistakes or
How are you going to detect those mistakes?
It could be language mistakes, first of all. So because they are not journalists, they may contain grammar and spelling mistakes. The other thing related to sentence structure might be just simple things like commas.
It's a different feature.
It's a different one.
Language feature.
Yep, language structure, language. Also, a thing we talked about is the type of language, how the author talks about the topic or covers the topic. Then we said time gap. And I mean with time gap, the gap between the action and sending or publishing. So if it is very short, I mean if it is seconds or minutes, sometimes it's a fake news. But it's not. It mustn't be a fake news. But it could be one of the reasons that tell us this is a fake news. And later, we said photo check. We talked about this also yesterday. If there is a photo, most probably the news will not be fake. But back to the point, it's not always the case. It is just something, and we need to always check the photos we see, and we should not trust everything or all the photos on social media or whatever on the media. Another point we talked about is comments. Thanks to comments. So reading the comments is always important. You find your mates, or you can find the other people on social media, tele, or whatever the media is. Most of the online magazines right now or online websites have a comments section. So reading the comments might help you to detect whether this is a fake news or a real one. Then we talked about offensive messages. Again, it's not the case by all fake news, but most of the fake news, if you found an offensive message, most probably this will be a fake news. Because most of the real news or most of the I would say journalistic work is transparent and objective. So if you found an offensive work or offensive message, this might be a fake news. The last thing is mass distribution. And I mean with mass distribution, if you found the news distributed by many well-known or well-established magazines, newspapers, even people, then most probably this news will not be a fake, or this message will not be a fake message. These are the points, and again, these are just things that can help. It's not the case by all fake news, but these are things you can look at when you figure or when you read a piece of news or a message. Thank you.
Bravo. Okay, so these are the features of your table, and you have to fill in with this table with data, okay? So you will get hundreds of different of data about, say, past fake news according to these features, and then you populate the values of these features, and then you're going to use artificial intelligence system to learn about fake news. And once there is a fake news happening today, for example, once you have your trained learning system, then you will feed in your new fake news with these features into your artificial intelligence system, and it will tell you whether this is fake or not. Okay? Do you get the idea? Cool. Yeah.
I don't understand how comments can tell me if it's fake news.
I can say it
Yeah, I just said that I don't understand how comments can tell if some news is fake
Yeah.
news.
Okay.
Should I add it? I can answer that.
Yeah, you'll do the technical explanation. I will give AI explanation.
Okay, so my technical explanation. So some people can detect it and write in the comments section that this is a fake news. So take care, people. So I think comments are a very good place to figure out whether this piece of message is real or fake.
Now, what will happen is this. This is a table, okay? And these are the column names. We will collect data from the past fake news, including comments, and we will write them all down into that table, say hundreds of fake news, therefore hundreds of comments. So there must be something common about these comments which determines whether that's fake news or not. So artificial intelligence mechanism will grasp that out of the comments. Okay. Do you have a system that is totally different than this? I expect all of you has something very similar. Is that correct? Very similar, okay? So I don't have to go, unless you want to report, please come and report. Do you want to report? Quite similar, right? So, yeah, please go ahead. Do you want to come here?
So in our group, we talked about how sources can be misleading based on yesterday's activity, that the same source can present both right information and disinformation. Another thing that we came up with, that we were helped with, was sentiment analysis, and it's basically based on the used language as well as the structure of the text, because some texts may give you like happier emotions and some may be more, for example, controversial. Another thing we came up with is interactions that, for example, tweets that are from bots and such can be misleading because they don't have much of an interaction. And another thing I wanted to talk about is in Slovakia we have a thing called,
Yay!
In Slovakia, yeah.
You're still alive. Good. Thank you.
In Slovakia, we have a web called conspiratory.sk, or like conspirators, and it's in cooperation with a web page that checks all the disinformation websites, so we could also cooperate with already existing database. I think that's a good point. Thank you.
Bravo, excellent. Any other additions? Okay, so there is a website, there is an organization in the UK called Lie Detectors. They do detect fake news, and I'm sure they use some artificial intelligence, something like the one that you designed here. Okay, so how long do I have? 5-6 minutes. Okay. I'll just briefly talk to you about history of artificial intelligence, very briefly, okay? So this guy, Al Jazeera, he's before Da Vinci, he did automatic systems using power of the water in 1300, I think, in 1300. The next one, please. This is important, okay? So artificial intelligence, through its birth, for Alan Turing in 50s and McCarthy, it has gone up and down. And sometimes artificial intelligence was so promising, and other times it wasn't very good in responding to the solutions required by the business world or by other. So therefore it went up and down. At the moment it's all up. We are not sure if it's going to go down or not, but because of the data, the existence of data, and because of the our ability to be able to handle large amounts of data and process data and transfer data, because of the technological improvements, I think it's going to stay with us and it will influence every sector, every discipline of the science, and everything in our lives. So therefore, I think it's going to go up. Next one. Yeah, these are like big things that's happened recently in AI. That gives us hope about this artificial intelligence being general and super. But it's only in the narrow domains, okay? Don't forget. Next one, please. Right, so this is important, okay. So most people ask, oh, is artificial intelligence going to have our jobs? Do you think journalism will be going away because of AI systems? Do you think AI systems, did you see this happening in today's visit? Did you have any ideas that AI system might replace the journalists? You don't think so? What is your proof? Yeah.
I'd say journalism is one of they are not artistic. So I mean artificial intelligence and machine learning is not artistic, and journalism is an artistic word. So it needs imagination, which artificial intelligence doesn't have. It needs creativity, exactly. So things that artificial intelligence cannot substitute.
Okay, good. This is summarized here in this chart. Okay, now this horizontal line shows how, oh, you have a question? Yeah.
Couldn't you argue that AI could do any job if it's just got enough computation? So if it's advanced enough, it doesn't matter whether it's a journalist or a doctor or a teacher or even more of a basic task, let's say, they could do anything. And as far as creativity, I think that's the big question, because humans believe they have a monopoly on creativity. They think that they are the only ones who could be original, but AI can be original once it understands everything humanity's ever done, and then it does something new. And that could be AI paintings, AI orchestra, and these things have been done, so they're still in their infancy, but sooner or later we will look up to AI. And I think that's going to be a very unnerving shift for our species.
Yeah, very good comment, Robert. I think this chart will put it a little bit concretely, the way we look at it, and then how we can interpret this. I think maybe your interpretation will fit this chart as well. So look at this. If the task is repetitive, if it is routinious, you know, like a person just in the assembly line, just putting parts together and putting them together, that robot can do that very easily, okay? So repetitive tasks as opposed to unique tasks, an artist producing something creative. And whether artificial intelligence can do that, we are not very sure. But there are examples of creativity, like an AI system can write poetry, an AI system can do pictures. You can use AI to create, please note this guy, Refik Anadol, R-E-F-I-K, Anadol, A-N-A-N-D-O-L, Refik Anadol. And he uses artificial intelligence to create the most creative stuff at the moment in the world, probably, in terms of AI arts. And so if the task is unique, and on the other hand, if the task is logical, it's following certain rules, as opposed to emotional, qualia. In philosophy, we call anything that's qualitative, like our emotions, pain and pleasures and everything, we call them qualia. If a task involves qualia, it is harder for the machines to perform. Okay, so in this axis, we will see more human judgment required, you know, very creative but logical, and then we will see pure human task, like unique task, and it's highly emotional, highly qualitative. What is the example? An artist, yes, musician, influencing, and then you go down, and then you have emotional but repetitive tasks, like a nurse, for example, because you know it's dealing with people, a doctor, nurse, and repetitive tasks. Do you have any examples? Does that make sense for you? But whether in the future all these pure human tasks will be made by artificial intelligence, I have great doubts. Yes, some people think it is possible, but I personally think it's not possible. There are reasons for this. One of the reasons is artificial intelligence still works with optimization systems. For all those artificial intelligence techniques that we have, at the background, there are optimized systems. If you optimize a system, it will not be adaptive. Remember?
But actually, I think that we are not so developed now to think about it, that it is possible or not. Because I think that the 1,000 years ago, people thought about that it was impossible to fly, and now there are planes, and maybe 1,000 years in the future it can be, yes.
Yes, a great argument, but there are two things about artificial intelligence which we have an evidence that it may not evolve to do tasks where human beings do. One of them is this optimization. It uses mechanical ways of solving problems, and they are not adaptive. And the other one is about consciousness. Our consciousness is... this is a very deep topic, so please read about this, but let me tell you only this. My friends who are neuroscientists, they look at intelligence and memory and consciousness related evidences by slicing the brain and trying to understand what is going on there. But unfortunately, consciousness is about a connection not only in our brains and neurons, but our connection with the outside world. So we are all connected, and there is no evidence that our mind is in our body. You know, this is a body and mind problem. It's a historically difficult problem. I'm not going to go, but my personal feeling is it is not possible for mechanical systems to simulate, for example, consciousness, because consciousness is being connected to everything around us. When we do, we are not just creating intelligent solutions in our brain, but our connectedness. If you look at 5,000 years ago, Vedic teachings, all these, not Hindus, but Vedic thinking, you will see that we are all connected when we are behaving or acting and solving solutions. But it's a very deep topic, consciousness, so I don't think it's possible in the machines. That's my personal view. But other people do think they are mechanic. They think that human body is a computer. I don't think so. Human brain is a computer. I don't think so. It is not. So, but, there are different ways. So therefore, I don't think AI will ever do pure human tasks. That's my opinion. Okay, any questions? Yeah.
So then you would say that the ambitions of Amazon and Google, and I think the Chinese Communist Party, to build the first ever human brain purely digitally is basically a fool's errand, because, as you said, the brain can't exist without the body and the collective experience and the environment.
It is not, I don't want to undermine what they are doing. I think it's very important that connectum projects all around the world, trying to map out the human brain and understand the human brain and try to see how it works is very, very important to get close to the general AI, so that we can have not generalized, not in the narrow intelligence, we can go to a bit beyond narrow intelligence. But it is almost impossible. There are at least two difficulties about this brain, the Chinese government and other governments in the United States. The Connectome project, one of the biggest problem is this. In 1 millimeter cube of human brain, there are 100,000 neurons. and each neuron connects to at least 10,000 other neurons. So there are 100 by 10,000 is 100,000. What is it, guys? Mathematics. 100,000, 100 million connection, okay? So a human brain is 1 million bigger than that. So at the moment, they can only study 1 millimeter cube of the human slice of a human brain. 1 millimeter cube, less than a piece of a sand. And the technology at the moment is not possible to understand. But even though they do understand, there are two things in the brain. One is about functionality of the brain, and the other one is the structure of a brain. And structure of the brain is connected to the how the neurons are connected. That's a connection. And functionality of the brain is how we perform tasks. For example, if you say apple, how come certain neurons get activated? That's functional. If you move your hand, that's functional, okay? If you play an instrument, that's functional. So how human brain is organized to perform these functions. So even though you understand the structure, it's very difficult to understand. There's no evidence that you can understand this. But apart from that, the intelligence, my personal view, okay? Through the research in terms of, in Turkish we say kadim knowledge, the accumulated knowledge of the human beings. If you relate it to the 5,000 years ago, how consciousness is being seen and observed is totally different than how scientific approaches are to the consciousness or creating or simulating human brain. It is not in the brain. It is everywhere. It's connected. It is an interactive intelligence, or consciousness is an interactive dynamical system, and there is an emergence. And it's very difficult for us to simulate emergence in the machines. So therefore, working in these brain projects are very, very important for the advances and for our inquiry, scientific inquiry. Science is very important, but science is not sufficient to perform certain things that we need to have. Any other questions? I think, so with this, I'm gonna stop here, and then in the next session, I think there are lots of good topics to talk about, artificial intelligence in media. Now you've got the foundations of AI, so you can ask lots of questions to the panel. Artificial intelligence in media, social media, and the society. So thank you very much.
Thank you.